Welcome to ATCM, the emergency medicine channel. Today we are discussing about liver function tests. There are large number of tests are available in liver function test, but the common tests are alanine transaminase, ALT or SGPT, aspartate transaminases, AST or SGOT, alkaline phosphatase, ALP, gamma glutamyl transferase, GGT, serum bilirubin, prothrombin time, and international normalized ratio or INR, and albumin. These tests can be helpful in determining what type of liver injury is present or what is the pattern of liver injury present in the patient when we are evaluating a case of liver disease. First we will see bilirubin. Bilirubin, we know that whenever patient is having jaundice, bilirubin is elevated in the body. Bilirubin is produced from the RBC breakdown. The total bilirubin is 0.3 to 1.1 milligram per deciliter. It is elevated in jaundice. It can be direct or indirect. Direct hyperbilirubinemia is seen in liver injury and obstructive jaundice. Indirect bilirubin is elevated in hemolysis or Gilbert syndrome. So it is a prehepatic jaundice, indirect. Urine bilirubin is elevated in liver injury. Indirect bilirubin always bind to albumin in the serum and it is not filtered by the kidney. Therefore, any bilirubin found in the urine is direct bilirubin. Indirect bilirubin is not seen in the urine. Conjugated or direct hyperbilirubinemia is defined as direct bilirubin more than 2 milligram per deciliter or total serum bilirubin is less than 5 milligram. In that, direct is more than 2 or more than 20% of the total serum bilirubin. So bilirubin is a marker of liver injury or cholestasis or prehepatic jaundice like hemolysis or Gilbert syndrome. Now bilirubin is produced from the RBC's breakdown and it is direct. It is split into direct and indirect according to the lab investigations. Whenever they are elevated, patient can have yellowish discoloration of sclera, that is called as jaundice. Now next one is liver enzymes, SGOT and SGPT. Their normal values are 10 to 45 units per. These SGOT and SGPT are elevated in liver injuries. They are not elevated in prehepatic jaundice or they are slightly elevated in posthepatic jaundice, not severely elevated in posthepatic jaundice. Mild elevation may be there. Normally SGPT elevation is always more than SGOT. In alcoholic liver diseases, sometimes you can see the reverse also. SGOT is elevated more than SGPT. In viral hepatitis, this ratio is characteristically less than 1. So normally most of the hepatitis SGPT is more than SGOT, but alcoholic liver disease it is SGOT is more than SGPT. Mild elevation up to 100 or moderate elevation 100 to 300, severe elevation more than 300, especially 1000. There are different causes for that, but most of the causes are same. If you see patient can have viral hepatitis, patient can have fatty liver, patient can have non-cirrhotic hepatitis, autoimmune hepatitis. All these things you can see in hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400 like that. But if it is more than 1000, we have to suspect. One is viral hepatitis, second one is ischemic hepatitis, toxic hepatitis like drug induced or some other toxin induced hepatitis. So if it is in thousands, very few causes, but most of the other diseases can have hepatitis and their SGOT, SGPT will be in hundreds. Alcoholic liver disease, SGOT is mostly more than SGPT. SGPT predominant diseases like acute chronic viral hepatitis, steatohepatitis, Budd-Chiari syndrome, ischemic hepatitis, autoimmune diseases, hemochromatosis, medicine-induced or toxin-induced hepatitis, autoimmune hepatitis, Wilson disease, celiac disease. SGOT predominant is mainly alcoholic or steatohepatitis, cirrhosis, hemolysis, myopathy, thyroid disease, exercise. In that, predominant disease is alcohol-related liver disease. Now, next one is blood ammonia. We know that whenever there is liver disease, hepatic encephalopathy, ammonia is elevated. But remember, ammonia levels will not correlate with the severity of hepatic encephalopathy. There is a poor correlation between either the presence of severity of acute encephalopathy and elevation of blood ammonia. It can be occasionally useful for identifying occult liver disease in patients with mental status changes. Somebody is having altered behavior, you see blood ammonia is elevated, then there is a high possibility of liver injury and hepatic encephalopathy. But remember, the levels of ammonia will not correlate with the severity of the encephalopathy. When it is elevated, we can diagnose it as hepatic encephalopathy, but level will not correlate with the severity. Now, next investigation is alkaline phosphatase. Normal levels are 40 to 125. This enzyme is can occur in bone diseases, intestine diseases, kidney diseases, leukocytosis, and placental diseases, and even in liver injuries it can be elevated. Alkaline phosphatase is normally elevated in obstructive jaundice or space occupying lesions in the liver, infiltrative liver diseases which produces obstruction. Obstructive phase of hepatocellular jaundice, that means acute phase of jaundice or acute phase of hepatitis, there will be obstruction in the canaliculi. So that is obstructive phase of hepatocellular jaundice. And sometimes bony lesions and metastasis also can elevate the alkaline phosphatase. So if somebody is having liver disease with elevated alkaline phosphatase, will indicate either an obstructive phase of jaundice, hepatocellular jaundice, or an obstructive jaundice. If alkaline phosphatase is elevated and other liver markers also elevated, we have to suspect hepatic origin. If nothing is there, only alkaline phosphatase is elevated, then we have to suspect bony lesions. Now, cholestatic pattern means alkaline phosphatase is elevated, GGT is elevated, bilirubin is elevated, SGOT, SGPT is elevated, then it is a cholestatic jaundice. If nothing is elevated, only alkaline phosphatase is elevated, then we have to suspect bone diseases. Other than bone diseases, pregnancy, chronic renal failure, lymphoma, other malignancies, congestive heart failure, childhood growth deformities, infections, inflammation, so many conditions also can produce elevated alkaline phosphatase. So remember, if the liver is injured and alkaline phosphatase is elevated, then you have to suspect obstructive jaundice, and if liver enzymes are very high and alkaline phosphatase is elevated, then there is obstructive phase of hepatocellular jaundice. Now, next one is proteins. In proteins, we have albumin and globulin. Normal protein levels are 6.5 to 8.5. Albumin is 3.5 to 5. Rest of the thing are globulin. Normally, albumin levels are more than globulin levels. But in liver disease, this may be altered. AG reversal, this is called as AG reversal. AG reversal means globulin is more than albumin. AG reversal can occur in conditions where there is low albumin or high globulin. Low albumin is mainly chronic liver disease. You should know that albumin is formed in the liver. Whenever there is a liver injury, chronic liver injury, albumin can be reduced. So, chronic liver disease, albumin losing disorders like protein losing nephropathy, protein losing enteropathy, expanded plasma volume. High globulin levels are seen in chronic illness, immunological disorders like SLE, RA, etc., multiple myeloma. Normally, albumin is more than globulin. AG reversal, that is globulin more than albumin, can occur both in conditions where globulin is overproduced or albumin is less in amount. Albumin is reduced. Whenever albumin is low or protein is low, patient can have edema. This is because of the reduction in the oncotic pressure in the intravascular compartment. Patient can have pitting type of pedal edema. Next one is GGT. GGT is mainly the test is mainly done to know whether the patient is taking alcohol or not. Gamma glutamyl transpeptidase. It can be elevated in patients who take barbiturates, phenytoin, both are anti-epileptic drugs, or patient who is taking alcohol. GGT and alkaline phosphatase elevated in hepatic diseases, but GGT alone can be elevated in barbiturates and phenytoin, those who are taking barbiturates and phenytoin. So we can pick up alcoholism, or we should know whether patient has taken alcohol or not. We can do GGT. Up to 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, this can be elevated, those who have taken alcohol in the previous weeks. Next important investigation for liver disease is prothrombin time. Whenever liver is not functioning, prothrombin time can be elevated. It's a bleeding test for bleeding tendency, prothrombin time, and INR, that is international normalized ratio. So prothrombin time of control will be there will be a control and patient sample. That ratio between the control and patient sample is international normalized ratio. Now conditions where PT and INR is elevated, normally PT is around 1 to 1.1. If it is more than 1.5, it is alarming level. Normally it's 1.1. It is elevated in acute severe liver injury, chronic liver diseases, obstructive jaundice, warfarin induced INR can be elevated, snake bite can produce, especially viper bite, vitamin K deficiency can also produce this elevation in the PT and INR. Prothrombin time evaluates all the coagulation factors in the extrinsic and common pathways. Whenever there is a problem in the extrinsic pathway, PT and INR will be elevated. Whenever there is a problem in the intrinsic pathway, APTT can be elevated. Common pathway also can be elevated because of the problem in the extrinsic or intrinsic pathway. So the PT and INR indicates problem in the extrinsic pathway or in the common pathway. You can see the picture here. So we have discussed some of the common investigation done under liver function tests. Thank you.